Hello guys and welcome back to another episode of Footstock 101 by myself Leithall in association with FootstockHub. In today's video we're going to be taking a look at all things PPG. This stands for points per game and it's the main statistic and matrix on Footstock that you need to get your head around before you can progress as a Footstock player. I decided to make this video before we look into how to buy and sell on Footstock because I think it is essential to totally understand the idea of PPG and the chain reaction effect it can have on player cards and Footstock as a whole. Before we get started, remember that Footstock is a gambling platform, so you must be 18 plus and from the UK to play, and sign up with the link in the description below if needed. In the last episode we looked at some of the information we can find within player cards. As we go into Kevin De Bruyne here, we can scroll down to the bottom and we see his previous matches he's played and the PPG scores. As mentioned, PPG stands for points per game, and a player's points per game is scored on the Footstock matrix, what is something that you need to understand fully before you get entering into any contests. Footstock scoring matrix can be found on the Footstock landing page for you guys to have a deeper look into. As we scroll through here you can see that different positions get different points for certain statistics that are measured by the data provider. As we go down you get into some negative scores as well, so offsides, fouls, etc, all get a player minus points. So overall at the end of the game, based on a player's performance, they'll have an overall PPG for that game. Now a player's overall PPG that we see up the top here, Kevin De Bruyne's is currently 25.83, isn't based off a single game. It's based off the last 38 Premier League games that they've played. As a player hits 38 games, every new score comes in and knocks the oldest one off. The player either gets a PPG score from their game, or if they don't play because they're on the bench or they're injured, it's simply a 0 that will be added on to their PPG average and taken into account. Now you might be wondering, okay, but why do I care about PPGs? First of all, it's a great way to judge a player on how they score against the Footstock matrix. So it obviously shows us the premium players that do well in contest on a regular basis. There are other advantages of their PPG scores and the statistics they hold. For example, in virtual tournaments that take place, these use the stats that are held within a player's PPG scores. But more importantly, PPG has an effect on a player's rating. As you can see, there's a star rating here. This is based on a player's PPG. Here's a graphic that should help me explain the star categories and how they work. There are a certain amount of players that can be in a star category at any given time. In the Premier League, there are always 5 legendary 5-star cards, 25 epic cards at the 4-star level, 50 rare cards, 150 common cards, and the rest will always be that basic 1-star category. On the first Monday of each month, these star categories are recalculated based on the player PPGs at that moment. However, a player can only move up or down 1 star category per month. Now once again you're probably thinking, why do I care about star categories? Star categories really do have a big impact on a lot of things you do. First of all, the star categories are relevant to contests that you enter. Different contests have different star requirements, so you're on a budget for many of the contests you may enter. As well as that, the star ratings also have an influence on different minigames you might play. However, potentially more importantly, these star ratings have an impact on a player's rarity and therefore a player's price. First of all, as we go to the shop here, we can see that different packs have different odds. As you can see, it's harder to attain those higher rated and star category players. But also, Footstock are always trying to control the amount of cards in circulation for any given player based on their star rating. On top of that, we understand that if a player is at a high star rating, they've been performing well in real life, meaning that their demand is probably higher for any contest that may be running at the moment. Therefore, the demand goes up, the rarity potentially goes down, meaning that the price generally rises of a player. Now vice versa, if a player goes into some bad form, or of course picks up an injury, they're going to be getting 0s on their PPG average that will eventually bring it down. As that comes down, traders might not find as much use in that player card in contest, meaning the demand comes down. But also, as that player drops down star categories, that player might become less and less rare on the Footstock market. A final point to note is that as some players drop down star categories, that might actually be an advantage as it becomes more usable in more contests and uses less of a star budget. So in summary, a player's PPG is made up by their real life performances and is built up as an average over the last 38 Premier League games. That PPG influences their star category rating on Footstock, and that star category rating has an effect on the rarity and the demand of a player, therefore potentially increasing or decreasing the market value of a player on Footstock. That's it for this video. I hope it all made sense, and it's very important to get your head around this stuff, so if needed, ask any questions in the Slack community or look at the documentation mentioned in today's video. In the next episode of Footstock 101, we can finally dive into how to buy and sell players on the market and start to build up your collection. If you did enjoy the video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys in the next installment.